Does it divide Russia and Turkey, or does it bring them closer together, this assassination?
No, Tracy kindly quoted my colleagues, James Sawyer, Zach Whitlin, who wrote yesterday that this, if anything, will justify the rapprochement that Turkey and Russia have agreed to operate in recent months. They had a bit of a spat earlier this year, and they've completely put that to one side, and they want to cooperate even on Syria, which is where they still have a key disagreement on the position of Assad. On other elements, they actually agree. They have shared interest in energy with Turkstream. They have shared interest in fighting terrorism in the broader scheme of things. And also they have shared interest in terms of tourism. Russian tourists go to Turkey very often. I think Turkey will be very keen to show that the security situation isn't that bad, and they're working very hard on the resorts that Russians use. And then there is, I think, one potential problem, which is that this the assassin of the Russian ambassador was part of the Turkish police.
Yeah.
So the Turks.
I was about to say, what was the objective? If these two countries see themselves on the same path, the objective of the assassination has to have been to tear them apart. How would the enemies of these two countries, if they do see them coming closer together, break that apart? Where are the kind of the crunch points? You mentioned what's happening in Syria. You talk about the fact that this was a policeman, therefore in some way implying that that there is within the state some sort of mechanism at work here. What is going on?
I think you were getting at it there in the second part of the question. I'm not sure whether the assassin had any grand intention of pushing Turkey away from Russia or vice versa. There was a very strong intention, which was to express some sort of revenge for what has happened in Aleppo. That's what he said when he killed the ambassador. And then it will be used, I think, by the Turkish authorities to justify their crackdown in the police and other parts of the state against these perceived enemies from within. They're even some Turkish politicians are even blaming the Gülenist movement for motivating this person. I don't think there's much truth to that. I think it's much more associated with Aleppo. But if anything, it sort of helps Erdogan's agenda.
Tell me, Charles, about Belgium. I had a conversation the other day with a senior investment type, and I simply asked him about what are the lessons that we've learned since Belgium. Ankara, Zurich, Berlin, and there'll be other ones in 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. What have we exactly learned from our security efforts in the continent of Europe, those efforts that came out of France, Paris, and over into Belgium?
We've learned that Europe's very vulnerable. I mean, you ask about Belgium quite rightly because it's been seen as the sort of linchpin of a lot of the operations that ISIS has conducted. I think the Belgian authorities have cracked down, and you haven't seen any attacks since then, although they've managed to thwart some attempts recently. I think Europe are very much under threat. Obviously, there's an effort by the countries that are interested in cooperating in bolstering Europe's external borders. But more and more in Europe, you see citizens criticizing the fact that there is a Schengen zone with open borders between different countries, and why shouldn't we consider dealing with terrorism on our own? I think for the moment, though, there isn't enough of a critical mass to stop that from happening and to move back to national borders. I think the Schengen zone remains in this sort of grey zone where it is currently, with spot checks in some places, on the French borders, on the Belgian borders, perhaps on the German borders for the next few months, but not a situation where we move on to there being no Schengen zone and every country operating with their own borders. I think that also states themselves understand that it is actually helpful to share all the policing information that comes with the Schengen databases and infrastructures instead of doing this all in a national way.